time, I want to make sure I get over here to Kenny Fogel, who is yet to pose a question.
Well, Stephen, you hit on a subject that I was going to talk about. He exactly led right into it. Basically, a lot of magistrates see their role in different ways. Some get really involved with the budget, and some don't. But what do you see as the role of a magistrate? Do you really believe a magistrate should be involved with the day-to-day budget and, as far as like capital projects, or talking about the Senior Citizen Center? I mean, there's a lot of things we spend money on. Do you have any specific places you think we should be looking at to cut? I mean, if basically the budget goes both ways, they're raising taxes, but if you've got to pay for things, so obviously you got to find some way to cut the budget in some way.
Steve, if you can go ahead and reply to that, then Keith will give you a chance to give your opinion as well.
Okay, the way I see it, it's on a need basis. What do we really need in the county right now? We seem like we have good roads compared to the counties around us. Maybe some of that money that can go into funding the taxes that can go into the roads can be used elsewhere in the community. As far as what he said about the elderly center, Tim Hutchins, he's running his campaign on. He brought in business, a for-profit, which my mother works at Flasley Hospital in mammography, Pam Howard. It was $40 million that the community did not have to pay in taxes. They brought in a hospital with up-to-date technology, and they didn't use taxpayer money. So if I were in fiscal court, I would look for ways to bring in businesses like that, for, say, a for-profit for the elderly that wouldn't be too much of a burden on the taxpayer. So that's how I would see as far as where you pull money. I don't really have the budget in front of me, whereupon I can point out instances, but in an overall instance, I would try to look through it and see where money could go, because I'm, fiscal conservative.
Okay, Keith, I know you've been attending fiscal court meetings, as several of our candidates for magistrate have been on for a fairly long time. So you've been at the meetings where the Senior Citizen Center has been discussed and some of the other capital projects that Kenny alluded to. What's your take on those?
I think the Senior Citizen Center is a great idea. My parents are almost senior citizens, and they need a place to go, and I want them to have a safe, nice place that they can go to. And you was talking about becoming a magistrate, Kenny. I think a magistrate's job is to get out here and please as many people as you can in District 1. They have put me in this position to be their magistrate, I hope. And I want to get out there, and I want to hear their concerns. I want to get involved with them. I want to know their problems. I'm not a problem solver. I cannot solve everybody's problem, but I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to get in there and figure out what needs to be done to make Nelson County a better place. I want to raise my grandchildren here. I want them to I want them to buy a place here. I want them to be close to me. I've been here for 54 years, and I love this place, and I want to continue to stay here.
Okay, back to Lisa Tolliver.
Well, the city passed its ordinance for a smoking ban this year, and that came up in front of fiscal court first, and fiscal court voted it down. Do you think it will be back in front of fiscal court in the coming year? And if so, how would you vote if elected? And
when you said city, you, of course, meant city of Bardstown, of course, not New Haven or New Hope. Keith?
If I have anything to do with that, and I know it's going to come up, I think we ought to put it on a ballot, on the vote machine. Let Nelson County decide what we need and what we don't need. I don't think it should be my job as the magistrate to get up there and do a vote for all of District 1. I think we should put it on a vote machine. Let it vote. Then everybody in Nelson County has their fair share of saying. I don't think it's right for 6 of us just to get up there and say, yes, we're going to be smoking, or no, we're not going to be smoking. I think the fair solution to that problem would be put it on the vote machine and let Nelson County speak their piece.
Stephen?
To me, honestly, it is a non-issue. If you believe in the Kentucky State Constitution, if you believe in individual freedoms, if you believe in individual business rights, it should not even be an issue coming up. We have waterworks that are needing more, they need more work. We have very poor water. It was brought up in the Bardstown when they voted on it. There was a smoking ban. There was a gentleman that came in and showed how poor our water quality was. If you get really into it with the Kentucky State Constitution, you stand up for the individual's right. The individual is the smallest minority, and it always will be. So if you have a personal business, you have, anybody that wants to go somewhere, then they can choose not to go to a place that has smoking. But if you're a business owner, I don't think it's the government's position to come in, even with a vote, and say, hey, you can't have smoking in your establishment. You know, I live in New Haven. Every bar there allows smoking. It would be unfair to the patrons that want to smoke, you know, to be able to exercise their freedoms and their rights. On the other hand, if you don't like smoking, you know, there are other places that don't smoke, that people don't smoke in, where you're more than free to go. So to me, it would really be a non-issue. If it even came up as a discussion, there's more important things to me on the ballot.
I would have to take that as a no vote, probably. Then.
That would be a no vote.
Okay, I think that probably is what Lisa was getting at. Kenny?
Well, being from south of the river, I know that's one of the things I hear all down there all the time about is that part of the county gets neglected a lot. They seem to be left out. What do you feel is the biggest thing that is, and what part of the county and what part of your district do you think has been neglected the most in southern Nelson County?
Stephen, I'll let you take that first.
Okay, what I feel that's been really neglected is the voice of the people. There's not been really somebody standing up for their individual rights, their property rights, somebody getting in there and saying, hey, we don't need these planning and zoning ordinances, or hey, we're going to get the money back down here that you've paid in your hard-earned money in taxes. You know, there's nobody that's actually stood up and said, why are we rubber stamping everything that's come down the pipe the past 16 years? You know, that was all good and fine, and there wasn't a whole lot of problem with it while the economy was good. But right now, people are, you know, worried once again about losing their homes possible because they can't pay their mortgage. There's higher taxes. You know, this country, it was founded, you know, they fought over 3% taxation. Right now we're looking at, you know, you have a sales tax, an occupational tax, a school tax, and an income tax that was an old war tax from the 40s. It's now the IRS, the income tax. You know, you're taxed on your labor. And there's all this runaway spending, and there's nobody actually getting in there and speaking about what are we going to do with a third less tax dollar that's coming in. And that's a reality that we're going to have to face, and nobody's talking about it in fiscal court. Is because the economy is down, nobody's talking about that we're going to have a third less tax dollars. There's no budget shifting. There's no looking into, can we stave off losing jobs in the county? You know, are we going to have to cut workers? Or are we going to try to find ways around that to where everybody can keep their jobs and not be more of a burden on the system by having to take unemployment because they lost their government job? So getting back to it, it's the taxes. And it's an issue that I really want to bring up more often than not, so as to be a voice for where I live. And that's really what I've been hearing from everybody, because I have been going door to door and speaking with as many people as possible.
Okay, Keith.
Most of us that live on the other side of the river, we choose to do so. I love the other side of the river. We've had a lot of projects done this side on the river. We've had 5 roads blacktop this year. I've been to several fiscal court meetings, and I've watched the process. I am getting very much involved to learn the process. And I have been out knocking door to door, and several people, you know, they asked me, they said, well, what are you going to do for us? I'd get my pencil out, and I said, well, what do you need done? I said, if I get in there, I'll voice your concerns. I'd say over 75% of the people that I asked, they couldn't come up with an answer. You know, I said, well, where would you rather live? Would you rather live in Bloomfield? Would you rather live in Cox's Creek? Not saying they're bad, but, I mean, you know, most of us that go on the other side of the river, we choose to do that. And I love the other side of the river, and that's where I choose to be. And I think we are getting our fair share. We have some pretty good roads over there. Sure, we've got some issues, and we do need a voice in there. We need somebody that will stand up when we have a planning and zoning issue. We need to get involved. We need to find out what it's going to help, what it's going to hurt, check with the neighbors, get their concerns, and then we can go forward in this. You know, I don't want to have problems. I don't want property owners not getting along. I want to get in there. I want to get involved. I've been in business, and I do know how to get involved with people. If I ever done a bad job, I had to make it worthwhile. I had to get in there and say, well, what's going to make it right to you? What, you know, and I've worked things out. I've worked solutions out. And I feel like I am a people person. I believe I'll be good at this job. Thank you.
Okay, we're at about the spot where we need to shift into our closing statements, because we do allow 3 minutes for those statements, whether they're fully utilized or not. So we'll thank our 2 candidates for being with us this evening, and go to our last phase of this particular forum, and that is closing statements. Stephen opened with his opening statement first, and Keith went second, so we just flip-flopped that this time. And Keith, will go to your closing statement and then hear from Stephen.
Okay, I would like to take this time to thank PLG, Lisa, Kenny, and Tom, and the Standard Office, and everyone involved with it. Stephen, I'd like to thank you for running a clean campaign. I would like to thank all the people that let me put a sign up, talk to me, my family, my friends. It's been a very pleasant journey. I have educated myself so much in the last 7 months. I believe I could have went to college for 4 years and I wouldn't have got the education that I've got. I've traveled every road in southern Nelson County. I've met a lot of great people. I mean, a lot of great people. A lot of beautiful homes. I've very much enjoyed it. I'm not scared of hard work. I am a people person, and I want to be a people person for District 1 and Nelson County. I have already got a lot of projects done. I have worked well with Kroger Phillips down there. Kroger, I'd go to him and I said, Kroger, these people want this. What do you think about that? He said, Keith, you go look at the situation. I said, yes, I did. And I told him, I voiced my concerns. And Kroger's been very, very, he's worked with me. It's unbelievable how well he's worked with me. I am willing to work with fiscal court and all types of government. I personally own a backhoe. I know which way water should run. I have worked with a bridge company. I believe I'm capable of looking at a bridge, figuring out what it might need and what it won't need. I have personally built culverts. I know I've been in concrete business all my life. I know a little bit about concrete. I've been to several fiscal court meetings to get prepared for this job. I am asking you for your vote. Please consider me to be your next magistrate for District 1. Thank you, Keith Metcalf. Please get out and vote.
All right, and the closing statement from Stephen Howard.
Once again, I too would like to thank Tom and Kenny and Lisa for having us here, and I really do appreciate that there is a public PLG 13 so I can get the message out to everybody. I want everybody in District 1 to have somebody that they can actually get in there and feel proud to vote for November 2nd. You know, somebody that's really going to stand up for your individual rights and your private rights as an individual under the Kentucky State Constitution. I'm not a politician, I'm not a contractor or business owner, and I'm not tied to anything that's going to sway my vote for the people of southern Nelson County. I've got a whole lot of family in the area. I'm trying to go out and speak with everybody. If I haven't made it to you yet, I'm going to try to before November 2nd. So once again, my name is Stephen Paul Howard, and I would greatly appreciate your vote November 2nd.
And thank to you, gentlemen, both Stephen Howard and to Keith Metcalf for our first of 3 debates this evening. And we will be moving on to our next debate, which is District number 3, here very shortly. And we'll be returning with our same panelists, Lisa Tolliver and Kenny Fogel. This is Tom Isaac asking you to stay tuned as we have more to come here on PLG.